welcome back to the Spider's Web, and in this video we're going to be making one of these little pumpkins as it's Halloween near enough. So this is what we're going to be making. Well, a slightly bigger one than this one. And what do we need to make this? Let's have a look, shall we? We're going to start off with aluminium foil, some sculpting tools, a dowel in the place of a rolling pin. I've got some black card that's been laminated, and we've got the DAS clay. So let's get some silver foil, tin foil, aluminium foil, whatever you want to call it, and scrunch it up into a ball. Yes. Roll it between your hands and try and get it as smooth as you can. It's a bit small at the moment, so let's get some more tin foil cut off and wrapped around. Is that okay for size? Let's have a look, shall we? No, we need it a bit bigger. So let's get some more tin foil ripped off and make the ball a little bit larger. We're not going too big with this, but we do want it slightly bigger than the previous one we made. Now I want to point out at this precise moment in time that this is the second thing I've ever moulded in my life. The first one was the first pumpkin. So don't expect perfection, don't expect any great techniques. So here we are, and we have the DAS clay. We'll scrunching it up between our fingers, and you will see that it's quite soft. Now this piece of dowel is because I don't have a rolling pin, so I'm just using that. Unfortunately, the one I picked out is not the straightest one I could have found. There is a slight dint to it, a slight bow to it, so it looks slightly ridged where I've done it. But we roll it out and then cover the silver tin foil rather with it, and we've got some water just to be on the safe side. There wasn't quite enough of the clay, so we'll roll some more out, smooth it all out, and hope for the best. So this is the long, tedious part, trying to get the ball covered with enough of the clay to actually be workable. And you basically want to smooth out the clay as you go along. Roll it between your hands. You can even wet your hands and smooth it out that way with a finger. But what I'm trying to do is get a flattish top to it. Now there's not enough on the top and bottom to be able to do this sufficiently, so we're adding a bit more clay and rolling it up in between our hands as usual, smoothing it out as best we can. Now I'm saying smoothing it out, we don't necessarily need it to be incredibly smooth, you know, like it doesn't need to be like a snooker ball, billiard, or something like that. The cracks and dints in it will be acceptable, because if you look at a pumpkin itself, there are dints and you know, little marks in a pumpkin, so they're not perfect, they're not perfectly smooth. But I'm putting this little dint in the top with the end of the dowel for a reason. Now we're getting two pieces of the DAS, and we're rolling them up into a little ball. And if it doesn't stick like that one did, just add a little bit of water and press it on. There we go. Oops, that didn't quite stick, but there we are. And get the other one done. In a second I'm going to show you how water does. You have to be firm with it because it pops off again. So you have to really make sure that you've pressed it on properly. And for anybody who's not used this stuff before, it does get very slippy when it's been wet, so just bear that in mind. And now we're getting a sausage of clay, and that is going to go over the eye. Now this is going to be the eyelid, And if you wanted to change the expression on these, you can put the eyelid further down the eye if you wish, but I've gone for like a wide open stare, a kind of menacing stare. Well, that's the way I thought it was going to look, but you'll see how it turns out at the end of the video. I mean, I'm happy with it. For my second attempt, I'm quite pleased with what I've done, and Ali likes it as well, so there we are. Anyway, we're actually smoothing around the area with our little sculpting tool. Just stroke, well, spread it out as thin as you can get it with this tool and make it as smooth as you can. And you notice that on a pumpkin you get those little ridges from top to bottom, like a segment of an orange kind of look. I'm not doing that as yet, and I want to make sure the face is on properly first before I start doing that kind of thing. So I'll get both of the eyelids done now, and again it's exactly the same routine for both of them. Place it on and spread it out, and when you finish spreading it out, you can, if you wish, put a little dint over in the eyelid just where it meets the main body and just behind the eye. You'll see what I mean in a second. I think I tried to put one on before, but smooth it out. There we are, that's what I'm meaning. So where the eye meets the main ball, then just put it there so it's a little crease in the eyelid. And while we're doing this, it's a good idea to say that what you need to do as well is to make sure that your hands are firmly damp when you decide you're going to smooth it off, because you can pull the you can pull the clay a bit too much, so try and get your hands wet. I learned that after the event rather. So I do at one point, I think, in this, dunk the whole thing in water, but as I say, the prime example of what I've just been talking about, I've wet my finger and then put it over the or smooth it over the clay, and it does get rid of a lot of the dints, but it's a thing of patience, this, I think. You know, you really need the patience to do this. Now we're getting another sausage, and it needs to be a bit thicker than before, and we're doing the lower eyelid. And again, it's exactly the same way as we did the upper eyelid. Place it on and then smooth out from the top edge downwards. In this case, it was upwards beforehand. And that way it gives a nice flat area to work on underneath. So these eyelids, I tried to make them so that they were narrower on the inner area. You know, you saw me turn it around. So where it would hit the nose, I want it to be slightly narrower than it would have been if I put it the first way. So now we have the, I'm saying eyebrow. I don't think it would actually be the eyebrow. I think it would be the socket, wouldn't it? I didn't put any eyebrows on this. I just put the socket there, and again smoothing out as we go. And I keep looking all the way around the ball because, you know, because of the fingernails I've got, I can, with them being a little bit long, I can make the mistake of putting a dint in the back where I don't need it. On this one, I position the eye socket a little bit too high on one side. Well, I noticed it and cut some off, and try to pull this out there. I'm forgetting myself. I was thinking then I was doing the eyebrow and I wasn't. It was the eye socket. But never mind. Gives it an interesting look anyway. So we are going round now and removing any pieces of detritus that has been left in there and smoothing it out. And as I said, it doesn't have to be incredibly smooth, so don't worry if you're trying this yourself. You don't need to make it incredibly smooth. So yep, some more water, and I think I covered it in water. I just basically dunked it in, and I'm smoothing it out now with my finger. As you can see, it's not a very difficult thing to explain, but it's harder doing than explaining. And this is the bit I'm using for the nose. This caused me a little bit of problems. I just could not get this right at all. I don't know whether it's because I put too much in for the nose, or the area between the eyes wasn't wide enough for me to fit it all in and get the tools in properly. But you know, I tried my best, did what I can. It just didn't look right to me. But there we are, it's one of those things. As I said, I'm not proficient at this. I've done any form of sculpting at all. I'll get my words out in a moment. Other than the pumpkin that I made just before this one, which was slightly smaller. I tried a little bit more, be a bit more adventurous on this one and make it bigger, but bigger doesn't necessarily mean better or easier. But I'm glad I actually made it a bit bigger because of this nose. Unfortunately, you'll see after a bit that I did manage to make a complete hash of it when I was trying to do something else, and I squished it with my finger and I hadn't noticed. But that comes towards the end. Watch out for that one. So we'll keep going with this nose and try and get it to the shape we like. At the moment it looks as though it's been broken. It's chased one too many parked cars. And I've put them creases in between the eyes for some strange reason. If the eyes are wide open like that, you wouldn't get those creases. I don't think, would you? I don't know. But I put them on there anyway, just for a bit of interest, I suppose. So yeah, we carry on smoothing out. I don't know what I've done here. Oh, I'm moving out onto a different tool. This is the tool that you used to get from Games Workshop. I don't know whether you can still get it now for using the green stuff. It's got that little flat end at one side and what looks like a Sharpie. Well, not a sharp knife, but kind of a knife-shaped thing on the other. Yes, one I didn't think of. This isn't the actual one from Games Workshop. It is out of that sculpting set that I showed you at the beginning of the video. And I bought that not for sculpting, but I bought it to what is it? When you're doing bases and things like that, and adding green stuff and whatnot. I bought it for that. And this is the second time I've used the stuff out of it. So I bought it years ago and not really done anything with it, and it's taken till now to have a go, but hey ho, at least I'm using it. So at the moment now, oops, I've squished his nose there. You saw the part where I squished his nose and not actually noticed. Ugh. So there we go. So just carrying on smoothing things out and re-implementing creases and whatnot as we go. So as I say about painting, it's all a case of minor adjustments. I think the same goes for sculpting and things like that. You're making minor adjustments all the time. So we now get another piece of clay, and we're having a nice big sausage. Unfortunately it's too big, so we are going to break it in half and just stretch that out a little bit, and this is going to make the top lip. So what we're doing with this is smoothing it out on the bottom of the lip, because as you saw from the small one I made a few days ago, the teeth will be coming up over the lip, and I want it basically to be flat enough to accommodate those teeth jutting up. So that's why I'm doing that. Again, smoothing out and smoothing out as we go, because we do not want any big lumps of clay anywhere. And the little bumps and little cracks, perfectly fine. We don't want it incredibly smooth, as I said, but we do not want any massive lumps like we have there. So let my fingers spread it over, come back with the tool, smoothing tool, and I'll just go over the top just to smooth it down a little bit. There we go. Just trying to break down that the thickness of that lip into a manageable size. There we are, nearly finished now, I think. That's it, I think. So the next step is to make, after we've done this, the next step is to make the teeth, and we'll show you how we do that in a moment. We just have to make sure where we're working is nice and smooth. But because before we make the teeth, we want to make sure that that lip is flat enough to be able to put the teeth on. Now here we are making the first lot of teeth. We're just making a long thin sausage, breaking it off, making sure there's a point at one end, and we just place it on and smooth out the bottom. We smooth out the bottom to try and make sure that it actually sticks. Unfortunately, they did stick, they dried really well, but in the next video when we come to paint this, you will notice that one of the teeth actually does break off because I didn't make sure that it stuck at the top. But it added a little bit of character to it. A broken tooth on the seemed to work rather well. Oops. And we just go along the entire top lip, adding these little spiky bits as we go. So the full main idea is to try and get it to stick all the way up, all the way along and up the tooth. But as I say, unfortunately, one of them didn't actually stick, and we had a little bit of an incident with it. But you know, things like that happen, and if it happens, then there's nothing really you can do about it apart from adjust the painting technique or whatnot. Now I forgot when I was doing the eyes to put the pupils in, so that's what I'm doing now. I'm giving them like a lizard pupil. Noticed a dent in this eyeball, so I'm just smoothing it out. And once it's smoothed out, we'll go in and give it a put the pupil in. So it's a long vertical line from one end of the top of the eye to the other, to the bottom, and there we are. So, is this all of the teeth we're doing? Yes, it looks as though it is. So now we've done the tooth or teeth, what we need to do now is the lower lip. So we need a long, fairly thin sausage that we can just put straight over and cover all at the bottom of the teeth. Now we don't want any of the flat bits showing. We want it to look as though it's the teeth coming out of there, so we make sure that as we're smoothing it out that there's pressure put on to the bottom lip so that it presses into the teeth. We're just re-establishing that little divot in the top of the whatchamacallit, and you'll see what that's for later on. So it's time now to put in the segmented look, and we're going top to bottom all the way around into little sections. There we go. And now we come back and add some not complete sections to this. And now we've done that, we can come in once again with one of these sculpting tools and spread them out a little bit so they look a little bit more curved rather than a straight slit. So doing it this way, it gives it that rounded end to it, so it's not, doesn't look too out of place and it looks more natural, even though this is not supposed to be a realistic pumpkin. It's supposed to be a very cartoony type of pumpkin. Still want it looking like a pumpkin, so we do need to have these little segments there. Now we're getting the last bit of the clay that we've ripped off, and we're making another sausage. This is where the divot in the top of the foot in the top of the head comes in, because this is going to be where the stem attaches. So as you can see, it's difficult trying to place it on there and stop it falling off. So what we're going to do is go all the way around it and smooth it down to make sure that the stem does actually stick to the top of the pumpkin, and where we need to, we'll re-establish those little segments, because as we're pulling down on the stem part, the segments are going to get filled in slightly, so we need to re-establish those. And it's not going to be a, as I say, it's not going to be a true life pumpkin. So I know the pumpkin has like a twisty effect to it with the ridges. This one doesn't have that, it's just that. If you can see what I mean. So we've got all that done now. In the next video we're going to be painting this up. The second time properly I've used my airbrush, so I'm still learning on that. I'm learning with this, so I'm just doing a couple of videos completely out of my comfort zone to get these done. And there we are. I hope you're enjoying what I'm doing. Please, if you can give me any tips at all on how to do sculpting with this and how to use DAS properly, please leave any helpful suggestions you can make in the comments, and we'll just notch over that, so bend over the stalk just to give it a little more character. Put a few little dints in the top of the face there. There we go. And before I forget, there's one thing I really want to do, and that is to give the lip, bottom lip, a little more character, is to put some lines in it, like so. I'm going to come back and use my adjustable knife. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until next time, as always, take care, God bless, and bye for now.